Hello and welcome to the first round of the Music City Open sponsored by Dynamic Disc. We're here at Cedar Hill Disc Golf Course on August 3rd, and here with me is Will McCaskill. How's it going, Will?
What's happening, Harper?
Not much. Here we've got a beautiful day at Cedar Hill. It's nice and sunny, plenty warm, very humid. Cedar Hill, technical wooded course, and who have we got on the card, Will?
We've got Jacob Hansen, Chris Dickerson, Chris Hassung, and Jeremy Jones. Two noteworthy players on the pro circuit, and a couple of our local regional pros.
Our first hole is hole 17, one of the signature holes here at Cedar Hill. It's actually our first hole because it's next to Tournament Central. 416 feet downhill. A lot of these guys are going to be throwing their mid-ranges down the hill.
This is a big favorite hole for this course. All the locals are crazy about it. Everybody was real happy we started here.
Jacob puts it fairly close, within 45 feet of the basket, right in the middle of the fairway. Good shot to start your round.
And Chris launching one.
He's a little bit wider, though. He's going to be caught up in those trees. A little bit out of position, but still going to have a look at the birdie. Here we've got Chris Hassung, a Discmania thrower. He's going to turn his over. He's going to land
nearly
right
the
next to
same
Chris.
place, yeah.
Here we've got Jeremy. He's a big arm on the card. Coming from Kentucky. He's going to throw it just down the middle with something slightly flippy. He's going to end up just to the left. Looks like he's going to be a little bit further out, maybe in the 50 to 60 foot range.
And Chris laying one right underneath the basket. That's going to look pretty good for his par.
Now we've got the other Chris, a little bit more obstructed but he still gets it up there. That should be easy for him to tap in. And Jeremy's near the trees, but he had an open look.
It's not a bad place to be if you're me, but from the pro lead card, I mean, everybody's kind of jockeying for position at this point, and he bagged it. Golly. Jacob Henson's one to watch, you guys.
Great putt right out the gates. That's how you start your round. Get your momentum going and hopefully carry that on for the rest of the round.
Man, right on the back side, too. That's a nail-biter.
Jacob's going to be getting at least a stroke on the card. Hole 17, you really want to get a 2 on, but it's not the most disappointing 3. It's tough to get it to stick all the way down by the green without going long.
Yeah, it's kind of a birdie or die hole. I mean, you either get your 2 or your 3 unless you do something really wrong.
And we're going to start with the par 4s early. Hole 2/original 18 and hole 1 and hole 2 on the original course are all par 4s. Here we have hole 2, 570 feet around the bend and into the woods.
Yeah, we had plenty of spotters out there for this one.
Yep. We've got Jacob crushing a forehand down there with his D3. He's going to land right in the gap, right where you want to be.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be either a long jump putt or a shorter approach. Chris is going to do something very similar. Maybe a little tighter.
Flick route is going to be real popular on this hole.
Yep. Chris also going for that line. A little bit higher and tighter. Looking for it to sit down.
Yeah, he caught those trees. That's the one obstacle you really got to watch out for in your drive.
Jeremy is going to be the one person not opting for the forehand. Turns it over. Oh, and he's getting a roll.
Man.
He's going to roll past the gap and away from it.
That's going to make his job a little harder.
We've got Chris. He's got a pretty tight angle being short of the gap. Going to really have to hyzer this forehand. And he hits the first tree.
There's plenty of them right there at that choke point that you can nail easily.
It's one thing you will notice from Cedar Hill, a very wooded course, lots of tight technical lines.
The underbrush is definitely more forgiving than we'll see in the Central Coast footage at Cane Ridge, but this course is one of our oldest and most favorite challenging pro courses, and it's really stretched out today.
In fact, the 2 under par 57 was rated at about 1,000, so that really shows you that this course plays tough to par. Jeremy's going to leave his upshot a little bit short. That roll was really unfortunate. It's going to make it a tough birdie look. Jacob playing it smart, throwing it low, skipping it up. That's one thing you can really do.
That's a great
here.
tree.
Yeah, good tree to stop it. Takes a little bit of the pressure off, which is great on these early holes.
And that's a bold move there, Cotton. We'll see if it pays off.
Got Chris a little bit behind the log. He's going to be taking a bogey 5, I believe. Chris in position for the birdie.
The robot in the bucket.
Knew he was
behind 4 trees.
Got the other Chris. Yep. Hole 18 is, I'd say it's one of the easier holes to get a birdie on. If you just get to the gap, play it smart. And we've got 2 birdies and a bogey.
Yeah, hole 2 was a little challenging there.
And here we are with hole 3, another par 4, 450 feet. It's a big, towering backhand hyzer if you have it, just to get over these trees and out to the left to set yourself for an easy upshot.
Normally, hole 1 on the course, this is one where there looks like there are more lines than there actually are, and you really have to take one particular route to set yourself up for any kind of a score on this.
I have noticed that a lot of these guys, as Chris takes the low line, it's easy to pull your shot to the right, throwing it so high, and it's seems we missed Jacob's drive here, but it's easy to hit those trees, and if you drop down, it's a really tough birdie save to throw a turnover through that gap so far away.
Jacob Henson is really one to watch. He's been on a little bit of a tear lately. Yeah, and there's why. He's got an upshot game. But the guys that are familiar with this course have an obvious advantage.
Yeah, Chris as well. Everyone knows Chris has been tearing up the Southeast. Just playing solid, winning, I believe, 20 events on the year up to this point.
He's a machine, and as you will hear from Corey Merle and Ian on the Central Coast footage, I mean, he is the guy to beat in the Southeastern Regional touring circuit.
Here's Jacob, looking to hit
in.
a similar putt from hole 1, but just leaves it a little bit low, but right down the middle. A little bit of a disappointing putt from Chris, also leaves it low.
And Dickerson makes his putt. Shocker!
Chris just plays very smart, makes all of his putts, is very consistent. One of the most consistent players on tour at his level. And we've got a few tap-ins for pars, I believe. And par's not the greatest score on hole 3. These guys are really looking to get it.
The next hole is interesting. This is normally hole 2 on the course, but this year Cedar Hill added 3 inner holes, and hole 2 is actually playing to inner hole 2's basket, so it has been stretched out even further than it normally is.
Yeah, this is definitely, in my opinion, the hardest par 4 on the course. Throwing a sharp hyzer off the tee, then a hyzer off to the next fairway, and you'll be lucky to get up the hill and get within range for a jump putt. Putt for 3 is quite rare and very desirable. And that's the spot where Chris and Jacob are landing. That's a pretty common spot to land throwing that skipping hyzer.
Yeah, that skip flare, you plan for that on this hole normally.
Yep. Everyone is throwing their distance drivers, but the angle is so tight to get to the left that you're not really getting the full distance.
If you can
flex.
work it out a little wider like that usually ends up looking pretty solid.
That's a great shot from Chris. Jacob has a tough lie with this tree right in his way. He's going to go over the trees. This is a really aggressive play. You don't know whether you're going to hit something and drop into the rough or whether you're going to be in the fairway. Jeremy is doing the same thing.
Over the top.
Takes a lot of power to get that line. Those trees are really high up there.
Man, and that's one spot where that back foliage is pretty rough.
Chris going with the same line, and he knows out of his hand he is going to be in the rough on the left side. A little bit of a shank from Chris. A little surprising.
Not what you're hoping for right there.
Got Chris's song. He's going to hit the tree on the right. Maybe want a little bit more flex on that shot.
I mean, you can see that is just a place where you have to have absolute finesse and a touch on anything.
Yeah, Jacob, he gets a lucky kick on his second shot, and he's going to be right in the middle, in great position. And he throws it up there and hits a tree. Chris, little surprising to see him hit that tree.
And get in it.
Nope. Oh my goodness. Chris almost throws it in from about 65 feet up the hill. Jeremy was in a
can
really
you see
tough
him?
spot.
I can. Yeah, that's...
Threw the disc about 10 feet, and that's about all he could do.
Trailblazing. You got to park that, yeah. But
great recovery shot, put it right next to the pole. Chris, outside the circle run, looking to save his 4, and we're getting some high scores on the card. Oh, Jacob.
That was a putt that I did not expect him to miss.
That was very surprising. Jacob is a very quick player. He doesn't take a lot of time to think about his shots, and you wonder if it maybe takes...
It's really interesting to see him playing alongside Chris Dickerson, because Chris Dickerson is a person that has such a routine that's so practiced and rehearsed.
Yeah.
And Jacob kind of wings it like I do on commentary on disc golf videos.
So we have no scores par or better, even from
That's
this pro feature card.
Yeah. Congratulations to Jared Cupadura, Jay Skinner. Got to shout out those guys. But yeah, they headed up the course crew on laying this out.
Yeah. And hole 5 is a sharp hyzer to the left.
Yeah, and there's so many trees on that side.
And a lot of these guys, they're actually... It seems like a shot where you need to throw something really stable, but actually it's better if you throw a flip up with something really slightly understable on a sharp hyzer.
You really have to get straight for a long ways before you're in play on this hole, at least in this layout, in this pin.
And 277 feet really doesn't give it justice. It plays more like 320, so I think a lot of these guys are throwing their mid-ranges and their fairways.
I usually throw a verdict at this basket.
And Chris, I mean, that's a great shot, but he's going to still be jump putting
most
that's
likely. A great approach. I mean,
Chris off the pole.
Found his gap and he really laced it.
Jacob's just going to be a little further out than Chris. Oh, he leaves it wide.
Guardian tree.
Yep. Chris with a little bit of a step putt.
And of course he makes it.
A little bit uphill. That's a great putt to get it over the cage. And Jeremy is yet to putt. That's probably one of the best drives hole 5 has seen up to this point.
Yeah, sorry guys, this is weird for us because we're used to this being hole 3 on the course, but since we started at 17, it's actually hole 5.
And we're gonna have 2 birdies, which is pretty impressive for hole 5. It's definitely a tough one to get.
Yeah, I mean, man, to see pros taking bogeys.
Yeah. In hole 6, we're going to have another par 3 that's similar in length, just a little bit longer, but completely different shot. It's more of a straight line if you just want to go down the right side or the left side.
There is a flick route and a backhand route, and it's a birdie or die. I mean, it's perfect to park, but if you don't get it, a 3 feels kind of bad.
Yeah, hole 6, definitely one of the more forgiving holes at Cedar Hill. The rest of the course doesn't give you a lot of strokes, but if you
there
really
used to be a
this.
big tree right in the middle of the fairway that you had to lace around too, and that made it more challenging. But now it's kind of wide open, and to see, yeah, I would be surprised to see anybody taking bogeys on this.
And Chris just crushes his A2. He just threw that about 350 feet. Gets it a little bit long in the basket.
Henson with a great shot down the fairway.
Yep, he's going to be in the circle.
That's Henson range.
Chris, lots of hyzer on that forehand. Just missed it early. I thought it was going to be a run at the basket, but hits another late tree. A little bit of a slower start for Chris, but he can get it going on the...
If you find the bad wrong spot, man, you can be playing pinball in there for a while.
Jacob, downhill putt. It's a little bit scary if you miss that. It's definitely a drop-off. You could go into the woods behind it.
There's a big skip way downhill right there. And the confidence paid off.
Chris with the opposite putt going a little bit up the hill. Let's see if he makes it. And of course he does. That's a great birdie. And Chris, that's a good way.
Nice putt.
Yep,
Yeah,
good way to
nice
recover.
way to finish.
And hole 6, about the scores you would expect.
Yeah.
And
Cedar Hill giveth and Cedar Hill taketh away,
yeah.
my friend.
And hole 7, this is interesting because it's such a short hole, but it is such a tight line. I cannot emphasize how tight this gap is, and you will not see many backhands. Chris, that's an insane shot to finesse a backhand through there. There's not a lot of room to work with.
Yeah, for a sidearm it works a little easier, but for a backhand you really need to throw something that can go straight for a long time before turning over, and that makes it a little more difficult.
Especially not getting the skip on the backhand turnover, as Jeremy throws a little
very
high.
low ceiling.
Yeah, very low ceiling. Chris, hopefully, he can recover with this forehand.
Look at that flare.
Yeah, that was a great shot.
And Park City, Utah.
Yeah, you see, he really used the ground play there. He knew that would skip, throwing a high-speed driver, so he put it a little short of the basket. That was a great play. And Jeremy, he's still going to be out, putting for 3 while everyone else is putting for 2.
But he sinks it. It's a good recovery.
And Jacob, just a little bit long. This is just a formality.
Tap them in, stack them up.
3 birdies. A little
here.
surprising for 7.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things. If you hit your line, you're parked. If you don't, you're bouncing all over the place.
Exactly. And hole 8. This one is something.
Yes, this is typically hole 6. Yes. Yeah, there's a big over-the-top route that you will see many people take.
Yeah, the pros are really opting for that line, but pretty much anyone else in any of the AM divisions are going to throw a low, just forehand. But Jacob really gets behind that shot. Wow, he put a lot of power on that.
Yeah, I mean, if you're me, I'm just looking for that angle. Looking to get parked in the landing zone and be able to have a straight shot down to the basket. But everybody going over the top.
Yeah, everyone
having pretty good success.
One backhand. I've never seen the forehand over the top until this round. I have seen the backhand.
Yeah, the backhand is the more common, especially if you're me and you don't have a forehand drive.
And everyone's going to be similar spot, just about 100 feet away from the basket, little jump putts, and this one is scary behind the basket. You do not want to go long.
Huge drop right down into an abyss full of nothing but trees and underbrush that you have to putt out of. So you're looking to lay up right here.
And Jacob, fairly close to the basket, but just in
Tips
a rough
over the
spot.
edge.
Yeah. And Chris, wherever he is, pitching out.
He's right there.
Yep.
Yeah, there he is.
Jeremy, a little bit of a death putt.
And he nails it.
Sticks in the basket.
That's a great putt.
And all threes, a little bit typical of hole 8. There's definitely trouble to be had, but the 2 is really something here.
Yeah, a couple tap-ins, and we're moving on.
Jacob and Chris are putting together solid rounds, 3 down through 8. That's about where you want to be.
Yeah, if you're a touring pro or a regional pro moving up to the tour, that's where you want to be.
Yep. And hole 9, one of the best holes on the course in my opinion. Just this downhill tunnel, very unique.
It's definitely a signature hole.
Yeah.
On Cedar Hill.
It's I'd say about 400 feet down to the bottom log if you want to get out of the gap. And but you can throw it past that just because it's so downhill.
There's a giant tree against the very bottom of the hill, and we kind of judge a great shot by that tree. If you make it past it, you're looking good on the hole.
Yep. Chris, he's going to throw it very low, maybe a little too low and too far right.
Jones on the tee. And that's looking like a solid line, but
there is some lines to the right side. The basket does come to the right at the end, so if you can find a gap, it's not the worst spot to be.
that has been cleared out a little bit more in the last year by Billy Fowler and the course crew, but yeah, still not the most forgiving place to land.
And Chris is near hole 12's basket, and but he's going to have to go about 150 feet more to the right to get to the basket. But that was a very good shot from where he was.
That's a great out, because that is jail. That is Folsom Prison Blues right there.
And Chris is going to have the easiest 3 in history on this hole.
Absolutely. And maybe a little high, solid up shot.
Yep, just a little bit long. Going to be a tester, but hopefully he can get that one in. Jacob. Yep, right next to the basket.
Yeah.
Chris going with that hyzer forehand. You can tell it's a comfortable shot in his arsenal.
Not a whole lot of work for Jacob to do right there.
Yep.
Cleaning it up. Let's see these guys tapping in.
Yep, everyone within 15 feet.
I'm excited for the next hole.
On the back
Chris's son tapping it in. But yes, and Dickerson obviously making this.
And that will finish our front 9 holes. Everyone with 2 birdies and 2 pars on the hole.
Oh yeah, I guess we got to stop now, huh? We're going to transition over to the back 9.
So Jacob and Chris at 4 down, and then the other Chris at 2 over, and Jeremy at even. Get a look at the beautiful Cedar Hill course.
Thank you, Harper.
Yep, and we will catch you on the back 9.